The Switch 2, where dreams come true. I've been dying to make that joke for 7 years now. Love or hate it, it's here, and I've spent way too much money on it. Today I'm going to give my review on the Nintendo Switch 2. I've spent the last 2 weeks or so playing the console, using several games as a benchmark, and boy do I have something to say about it. So grab your rotisserie chicken, a little sody pop, and buckle in, because it's going to be a wild ride. Yep, it still looks like a Switch, but new. Like when somebody gave you a haircut and you kind of notice. ChatGPT made this joke for me, by the way. I thought it was kind of funny. Alright, let me cut straight to the chase. If you have a Switch and are completely happy with it, then you do not need this one. But if you're tired of your Switch, whether it be from a crappy screen, graphics, or Joy-Con drift, then it would make sense to go to your local game store and pick one up. There are several great upgrades they made from the first Switch, but I will straight up tell you that this is basically a Switch Pro. But maybe that isn't a bad thing. In many ways, it's like going from a PS4 to a PS5. Very similar to the PS5 specifically in the sense that it has a weak launch lineup and tons of backwards compatibility. Although the PS5 did do a better job in distinguishing itself from its predecessor. Well, enough comparison to Sony. Let's get into talking about the hardware. The Switch 2's hardware is a big step up compared to the original launch Switch. The 1080p 7.9-inch screen feels like a huge screen compared to the original, and the screen itself is beautiful to behold in person. The colors look great. 1080p is such a welcome upgrade from 720p. Compared to the OLED, it's not as impressive, but you still feel the impact from the big screen, and the LCD panel is good enough, in my opinion, to make it feel like an upgrade versus the OLED. The colors, however, do not feel as vibrant as the Switch OLED, and I do believe that Nintendo's going to probably try to gouge us with like a $600 Switch OLED. The rest of the hardware itself is awesome. The body is plastic but coated with a nice black painting that makes it feel premium. I don't love that it does feel a little fingerprinty, but it's not as bad as the dock. The dock is a fingerprint magnet. But it does feel and look like a premium product. The body of the Switch itself with the Joy-Cons put together feels substantial. It's an absolute unit. The Joy-Cons still feel like Joy-Cons, but bigger. I'm still worried about Joy-Con drift, but it's going to be several months until we really find out the extent of that. It does look like it's the same analog stick mechanism from the first Switch. The good thing about these Joy-Cons though are that they are much bigger than before, and they do feel more significant in the hands. The buttons feel great. They aren't significantly different, but it's different enough to be noticeable. The kickstand feels amazing, especially again if you go from the original Switch to this Switch 2. The OLED might not feel as different, but I do feel like it took the design cues from the OLED and made it a little bit sleeker and a little better. Plus, the USB-C on top is a nice touch. I already put it to use the other day at a friend's house while we were playing some Mario Kart Worlds, and we were playing in handheld mode. And the magnets. Just listen. They feel great, and it's so easy to get them on or off the system. Other than the internals and the screen, this is one of the biggest upgrades for me on the hardware. The railing was nice, but the magnets feel so much better. The internals are where the changes are most noticeable. With a brand new NVIDIA chip, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, you immediately notice the difference running older games on this thing. One of the biggest reasons I decided to get this on launch day was because I knew that I can play a big portion of my Switch 1 library with better graphics. That alone sold me. I was getting tired of my old Switch, so much so I sold it about a year and a half ago, and I've just been using a Switch Lite every now and again when I want to play my Switch games. And Tears of the Kingdom was what made me want to sell my old Switch. I never finished it on the Switch. I finished it on my emulator, because it felt like it was showing the age of my Switch, and my Switch lost its magic. I've now spent most of my time playing Tears of the Kingdom on my Switch 2 when I'm not playing Mario Kart World. I'm sure you already have heard all the games that have been updated with the backwards compatibility, but seeing it in person really is a game changer. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Pokemon Scarlet, Super Mario Odyssey, they were the most noticeable in my opinion. But the load times have been upgraded in virtually every game on the Switch, which is extremely nice. There are also other new features, which you've also heard of, game chat, mouse mode, whatever. But I'll be honest, I don't think really anybody cares about them other than the legit Switch reviewers like Nintendo Life or whatever. If you do, please let me know in the comments. Mouse mode is cool, I guess, if you like aggravating your carpal tunnel. And the chat button implies that I have friends. So, no, I'm kidding. The chat button is fine. I actually don't have any friends that have a Switch 2 right now, so I haven't been able to really use the functionality. I guess until that happens, that'll be great. I wish they could extend that same courtesy to the Switch 1, because I feel like it would just be a normal hardware thing, software thing, but who knows. Game share is also cool in theory, but I haven't had a use case for that scenario since it doesn't really work well on games for the Switch 1. So again, don't have many people that I know that have Switch 2s, so it's hard to kind of pinpoint or test that out for me. The virtual chip thing is cool as well, but it was for me a little cumbersome to use. It's cool for the online games, like when you're trying to download them and whatnot. But when you have several Switches, like for example I do, my girlfriend has a Switch Lite and I have my Switch, and we kind of have to interchange between the virtual chip thing. It's just, I just wish it were like the PS5, that if you were logged into your account, you can play whatever games you own. Nintendo anti-consumer practices sometimes baffled my mind, because they shoot themselves in the foot with these stupid things. And let me not even get started on the Nintendo Switch Tour. The fact that Reggie had to beg for the Wii U Sports to be a pack-in title for the Wii says everything you need to know about about Nintendo's own greed. I digress. So here are my final thoughts. Is it worth it? It depends. Do you have $400 and a weakness for nostalgia-fueled plastic? ChatGPT also wrote this one. It looks like they've been studying Scott the Woz. I think for somebody like me who was kind of getting tired of my Switch and wanted to upgrade it, and also likes the new Mario Kart, it was a perfect buy. But if you could care less about the graphics upgrades and don't really like Mario Kart and are happy with your current Switch, I would wait to grab it secondhand or wait for an actual good bundle 2 Black Fridays from now. I give this console a total of 6 PPAs. And now I have to save up for the OLED version 3 years from now. If you enjoyed this review, smash that like button and subscribe to the page, please. Thanks again. See you in the next one.